everyone, a warm welcome to all of you. I'm Pranjali Mishra and I'm currently pursuing Masters in Computer Application from International Institute of Professional Studies, Devi Halya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. And the topic that we are going to cover in today's video is Introduction to Virtualization. And virtualization is the most important topic that we have in cloud computing. And this video or this presentation that I'm making is under the guidance of Dr. Vivek Srivastava sir, who is teaching us on subject cloud computing. So let's get started with our very first topic or the content that we are going to cover in this video. So the content that we are going to look is the introduction of virtualization, its fundamental concepts like its types, its networking, its applications. We are going to look all of this. So without any further delay, let's get started with the definition of virtualization. So if someone asks me, how do you define a virtualization? So I would say an virtualization it is like a technology that's create a virtual version of any physical machine. By creating any virtual version of any physical machine, it helps us making possible that a virtual machine to run in a multiple organization system. So the formal definition of virtualization will be it is a technology that creates virtual versions of physical machines such as servers, storage, network, and it uses software to mimic the functions of hardware, allowing users to run multiple virtual machines on a single physical resource. There are some kind of software that we use to function this hardware and allowing to run multiple virtual machines in any single physical hardware, which particularly means that you can have one hardware and many different virtual machines can be created on it. That's why we are saying that virtualization is the most important topic that we have in cloud computing. Starting with some key concept that we have to know about virtualization, let me tell you what are those key components are or that we have to look into virtualization. So creating any virtual machine over any existing operating system and hardware is referred as a hardware virtualization, and the machine on which this virtual machine is getting created, that is known as host machine, and that virtual machine that has been created on the host machine, that is known as the guest machine. So this is the two things that we have to remember, that the virtual machine which is created, that is a host machine, and the virtual machine is referred as a guest machine. After this, to manage this virtual machines, we need some kind of software, and that software is known as an hypervisor. Now we are going to look deep into what exactly is hypervisor. So let's get started with that. Okay, so an hypervisor, as I already told you, it is a kind of software that we need to manage our virtual machines. And how does it manage? So what it does is that it sits between our hardware and operating system, and in between this hardware and operating system, we also has virtual machines. So what this hypervisor is doing, it managing our software or our virtual machines storage, its computing powers and everything. And what it does is that it locate a virtual machines any since it sits between hardware and virtual machine. So what it's doing is that it manages it and it's helping virtual machine to access CPU, memory, disk, and any other types of things it wanted from any device. So that's how hypervisor is helping any virtual machine. Now after that, hypervisor can be divided into two main types. One is bare metal, that is also known as type 1, and the second one is hosted, which is the type 2. Now what are this and how does it look? It shows over there here. The one main difference in between this is that in this bare metal, the hardware and hypervisor are directly connected. But in hosted or in type 2 virtualization, the hypervisor and operating in between an hypervisor and operating and between a hypervisor and hardware, there is a operating system that sits between them, and then it manages them. So as the name suggests, a bare metal hypervisor, it runs directly on a hardware and manages the software and manages the resources of the physical machines. The best example of it is VMware or Microsoft Hypervisor or Zen. Now, same goes for Type 2. As I said, it runs a software application on top of existing operating system. The best example of it is Oracle VM and virtual machine. After hypervisor, we are moving toward what are the types of virtualization that we have. Now, the virtualization can have many types, but six or seven types that we are going to discuss in today's video. So, first one is we have hardware virtualization. In it, we have full, para, and partial. After that, we have network virtualization. In that, we have internal and external network virtualization. Then we have storage, memory, software, data, and desktop virtualization. Don't worry, we are going to look all these virtualization types in the upcoming slide in more detail. So let's get started with that. Starting with the very first, that is hardware virtualization. So hardware virtualization, as I already told you, is basically an idea to combine many small physical servers into one large physical server so that the processor can be used more efficiently. So our processors, memory, or anything doesn't go on west in hardware virtualization. Now, as I told you, hardware virtualization is also subdivided into three categories: full virtualization, para virtualization, and partial virtualization. Now, what happens in full, para, and partial is that in full virtualization, the complete simulation of the actual hardware takes place to allow the software to run on an unmodified caged operating system. Now, one thing that we have to remember is that the actual hardware, it takes place on a software that runs on an unmodified guest operating system. That is the quality of full virtualization. Now, a para virtualization is completely opposite to full virtualization. What's happening here is that in this type of virtualization, a software unmodified runs in a modified operating system as a separate system. So, a software is unmodified, but the operating system has to be modified to run any system or to run separately from a system. That's what basically happening in para virtualization. After that, we are having partial virtualization. Sometimes we say that it is like a combination of what full and para virtualization. So in this type of hardware virtualization, the software may need modification to run, or if you don't need, then you just go with the unmodified version of operating system. So it depends on the organization's need to how they wanted to use their particular virtualization or hardware virtualization. Now, after hardware virtualization, we have our next type of virtualization, and that is network virtualization. Now, network virtualization is also one of the most important virtualization that we have. It's because what it does is that it combines hardware and software networks into a single software-based administrator entity, so that the our virtual network and the physical networks can allow and manage more efficiently in any virtualization technology. That's what basically why we are having network virtualization to to restore or to optimize our resources more efficiently. Now there are two categories that we have in network virtualization, that is internal and external. We have storage virtualization. What is happening in storage virtualization? Multiple network storage are present as a single storage device for user and for management of software. There are some advantage of storage virtualization, that is our storage management heterogeneous IT environment, also update and better availability, also provides us with a reduced downtime. It's better provide us with a storage utilization and automation. Basically, for many for multiple networks that we have storage present in a single storage device, so that it's for us to manage that multiple resources. That's why we are saying storage virtualization, providing different types or of having various advantages. Now this storage virtualization, it also has two types, that is block level virtualization and file level virtualization. This block level virtualization, it works for the file system and it replaces controller and takes over at disk level. One thing that have to block level virtualization, that it works at a disk. After that, have file level virtualization. Now for this, some kind of a storage installed for operating system or in server, so that it can build the file. We have our next topic, that is desktop virtualization. Now desktop virtualization, it is highly demand, or I can say for nowadays, because multiple companies and their employees are working remotely from their home. So in the virtual desktop for that purpose, it's them. So the most important advantage of using desktop virtualization is that it provides work convenience, that makes convenient for them for work. It provides convenience and security, and has as and one can is accessible. You are able to work from location. Of course, it is flexible for work anywhere at any time you are comfortable with. And yes, of course, it's also providing security, providing good convenience, work life flexibility, virtual, very. After desktop virtualization, we are going to look into some of the advantages of virtualization. I imagine that after understanding all the above slides, so guys can tell exactly what is and what are the advantages of virtualization. So it is still let me what are some five most uh, advantage of virtualization. The first one is for resource optimization. Second is effective for resource management, provides the ability also for IT and of course it has a very good advantage of providing for easier backup and disaster recovery. It has a great security level virtualization that if the cost saving the hardware expanding with its several types. That's why we are saying that advanced is then very high level, right? Of very much of virtualization. Now, if it has advantage, there might be people that has some disadvantage. So, so let's them on. But one thing I would say that disadvantage of virtualization are almost equal, because it compared to its advantage, the disadvantage are slightly negligible for. I can say that its software license cost can be, but it is its hardware cost is so the license cost is compared to hardware cost, that of disadvantage for virtualization. That is if what advantage that I would add about it. Right now, on the part of culture question, I'm going to provide 10 questions, and also along with the questions, we are going to have their answers. So if you guys face any question, you guys can answer. So let's get started with our first question. It says that what is the primary purpose of virtualization in IT? So option A says reduce the number of physical servers required. Option to improve resource utilization and management. To enhance security by isolating applications. Option simplify software installation and now the correct answer for this question is option B says correct because the primary purpose of virtualization is to create virtual versions of physical resources like servers, storage, and other things. You guys can refer these answers and for one question that is question is following best finds a hypervisor virtualized. So here are the options and according to this option, option A is the correct answer because as we see that a hypervisor is a kind of software which manages the server virtual. That's what exactly and the things are not applicable. So let's see if this answer is yes. So the correct option question number guys got it 7. After this we have question is that virtualized setting. What does network virtualization with the it, option it is isolated system as it combines physical network one bit into broad proved it get virtual network with hardware. Option D it is text for end user. Now correct answer to this question because network virtualization is designed to combine physical like connect them with or virtual or with our software based resources. That's why we are network. That's after that a question that we have how does block level storage virtualization improve those data centers? When we talk about block level storage virtual, it always comes this level is so the correct for this answer correct answer question guys with this out that question fifth says statement best describe the benefit of desktop virtualization. If you have understand what virtualization guys answer time and answer post the video and time and then let me know what exactly the answer for question 5 correct answer guys had learned the top guys guys you can always answer what after that we have question is what distinguishes full virtualization from other types of virtualization. So as I already told you one I was got virtualization uh, unmodified operation. So in question there is unmodified operation but this this might be stopped correct answer. That question 7 now term of IT operation. What is a major advanced server virtualization? Talk about server virtualization. The option might be correct because a server virtualization allows multiple virtual run and maximizing the use of hardware. After question 7, question number 8. Which type of virtualization involves virtual that enable applications to run without being direct user operating? So a software virtualization, the answer for the question is correct because this kind of quality is provided by OpenAI. Yes, correct. Option. Question 9 says, what is one major advantage of virtualization in IT operation? Hardware cost, your backup and disaster recovery. So option is the correct or advantage. The last question says, in block level storage virtualization, at what level does it operate? I told you when I was about storage level. The correct answer is disk. Answer yes. When a block. All right, the video ends here. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, make sure to like and